What are the legal rules for a valid acceptance? To an acceptance to be considered as a valid item, what are all the legal rules? 1. It should be obsolete and unqualified. Obsolete means what? Obsolete means no frills, nothing attached. It is that it is on its own. அது மட்டுமே obsolete. Unqualified na not qualified, no conditions, nothing attached, no frills attached. According to section 7 of the Indian Contract Act, in order to convert a proposal into a promise, the acceptance must be absolute and unqualified. It means that an offer must be accepted as it is without any reservation. It should be directly accepted without saying, I only will do only without this. So those kind of things, variation, condition. So if you give me only this, together I will get you. If you reduce the price, I will take it. No, nothing like that. Straight away, accept it. That's called absolute and unqualified. A qualified and conditional acceptance amounts to marking of a counter offer. We have studied earlier what is a counter offer. If you make a counter offer, the original offer will cease to exist. You cannot be revived by a subsequent acceptance. You have to make a new offer. You understand? You saw that. X offered to sell his car for rupees 1 lakh to Y. Y agreed to buy it for rupees 90,000. Y's act is a counter offer and not an acceptance of X offer. Now if Y accepts the original offer to buy the car for 1 lakh, X will not bound to sell his car because Y's counter offer has put an end to the original offer. This we already saw. X offered to sell 2 plots of land to Y at a certain price. Y accepted the offer for 1 plot. That is not allowed. At an action sale, X bid was provisionally accepted at an action sale. The acceptance was subject to confirmation and X withdrew his bid before confirmation. It was held that X could withdraw his bid before confirmation because acceptance was not absolute but subject to confirmation. Right? Unless it is confirmed, it is not a pure acceptance in a action sale. 7.2 of the ICA, if the proposal doesn't prescribe the manner in which it is to be accepted, there is nothing given, you have to accept only in this fashion, nothing is given. So, then in that case, usual and reasonable manner. If it says it should be accepted in a proper manner, in a prescribed manner, prescribed means chollapatta, means what? You have to sign it in a green ink. You have to come on the particular day in person. So there are many things. You can say that. Those things, if you are saying, that prescription is not there. You have to return it in 15 minutes. So those kind of things. Prescribed manner. It should be written in the telegraph. Okay. So those you should be accepted by registered post. So those kind of things. Then it should be accepted only in that fashion. Otherwise it doesn't become an acceptance. Consequences of not accepting the offer in the prescribed manner. You saw what is prescribed manner. If the offer is not accepted in the prescribed manner, the offerer may approve or reject such acceptance. If the offerer wants to reject it, he must inform the acceptor within a reasonable time that he is not bound by acceptance because it is not in the prescribed manner. You should tell the acceptor, I will not accept because you did not accept in the prescribed fashion. If he doesn't do so within a reasonable time, the presumption will be he doesn't mind the offer being accepted in a different mode and will be bound by such acceptance. If he doesn't accept, if he doesn't inform that it is not in prescribed manner, then after a reasonable time passage, after some time, maybe 3 months, 1 month, 10 days, 5 days. That's a reasonable time. So he is bound by the contract because there is an acceptance already, only that is not in the prescribed fashion. So prescribed fashion only is told back, it is not acceptable, it is okay. Consequence. Mr. X of Agra sends a letter by post to Y of Delhi offering to sell his car for 1 lakh. Also writes, send your acceptance by telegram. But he sends by ordinary letter. But what happens now? X has got two options. Maybe he can keep quiet, or you have to tell him back. Now what happens? But if he doesn't inform Y within a reasonable time, it shall be deemed to have acceptance and valid contract will be formed between X and Y. You should tell back in a proper time, within a reasonable time. Communication. Acceptance must be signified that it is indicated or declared. Acceptance is complete only when it has been communicated to the offerer. You just cannot keep it in your pocket and say it is accepted. You mentally determine I want to accept, it's not okay by law. The law is very clear. You have to accept by whatever external manifestation, some form of communication, word or conduct. X offered to supply coal to a railway company. The manager of the company accepted the offer and put it in the drawer of his table. Forgot all about it. It was held that no contract was made because acceptance was not communicated. Understand? He wants to accept, but he put the paper in the drawer and went on leave. Now, there is no communication from the railway company to the particular person. So, there is no contract. By whom? Acceptance must be communicated by the offeree himself or by a person who has the authority to accept. In other words, if acceptance is communicated by an unauthorized person, it will not give rise to legal relations. We already know it should be accepted by in specific or general or whatever, right? So similarly, the person should have an authority. Otherwise, it will not make any legal relation. P applied for the post of a headmaster in a school. The managing committee passed a resolution approving P. P is a headmaster applicant to the post. But this decision was not communicated to P. The headmaster was not informed. The candidate was not informed. But one member of the managing committee in his individual capacity and without authority informed P of the decision. It is not binding, right? Because later they cancelled it, maybe for some other reason. It is not binding. Because they have not communicated. By authorized person. Earlier the person who inside that committee was telling him in his individual capacity, personal capacity, not as an official spokesman of the managing committee. To whom? To the offerer. To whom? It should be communicated to the offerer himself. If acceptance is communicated to an unauthorized person, it will not give rise to legal relationship. F offered by a letter to buy his nephew's house for $30, saying, if I hear no more about him, I shall consider the horse mine. Right? F offered a letter to buy his nephew's horse, Kudaraila, for $30, saying, if I hear no more about him, I shall consider the horse mine. He is offered, but he doesn't tell back, it's mine, my horse. Now nephew sent no reply at all, but told his auctioneer, the person who is making the selling of horse, not to sell that particular horse, as he intended to sell that horse to F. Right. B sold the horse by mistake. There is one person called F. and there is another person, nephew, and there is a person, action here, B. Right? So nephew, he offered by a letter to buy his nephew's cause. Right? To the nephew. Nephew did not reply, but told the other person, right? Not the F. But now what happened? B told the horse by mistake, but the communication didn't reach F. So now what happened? F will not succeed because his nephew had not communicated acceptance to him. So it should be A to B should be communicated. You cannot communicate some third person. Third person should not communicate to B, or he should not communicate to a third person. A to B is allowed. Communicate to the person doesn't bind A and B. C communicating B also not binding A and B. But if C and D, C or D are authorized persons, the deal may be okay. The acceptance must be given within a time prescribed, if any, or within a reasonable time. What is reasonable time depends on the fact and circumstances. Different things. Maybe a horse will have a different acceptance period. A house will have a different acceptance. A dal or milk or curry or something else will have a different acceptance periods. Situations. An offer to buy shares of a company was made in June, but the acceptance was communicated in November. You know the share market, right? It keeps changing. So, it was held that offerer was not bound by the acceptance because acceptance was not given in the reasonable time. Share market changes every second. If you accept after 1 month to 3 months, what happens? 4 months. It doesn't make any sense. That's not a reasonable time. Before lapse of offer, the acceptance must be given before the offer lapses or is withdrawn. Made an offer, the offer should not lapse for 3 months. This is there. You should accept before that 3 months. Otherwise, what happens? The offer will lapse and your acceptance is of no use to anybody. Or if they take back, they made an offer, maybe in the evening they take back. You have to accept before they were taking it back. So if you accept before they take it back, then there is a legal relationship. If you accept after they took it back, then there is no legal relationship. X offered by a letter to sell his car for rupees 1 lakh. Subsequently, X withdrew his offer by a telegram which was duly received by Y. After the receipt of the telegram, Y sent his acceptance. We have seen this, right? So it's not binding, not valid.